Good evening and welcome to this ordinary meeting of the Property and Personnel Committee. This meeting will be held under the regulations allowing local authorities to meet formally using remote technology, which can be found on our website. It is being streamed live and is available to view on our website. I will ask the Town Clerk to carry out a roll call of all councillors and ask you to confirm that you are present. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Chase.
Present.
Councillor Baker. Not present. Councillor Price.
Present.
Councillor Rhodes.
Present.
Councillor Tandy.
Present.
Councillor Turner.
Present.
And Councillor Malloy. Not present. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Peter. Item number 1 on the agenda, mobile phones. Members are reminded to switch their mobile devices to silent for the duration of the meeting. Item 2 on the agenda is apologies, and we have none. Moving on to the next item, number 3 on the agenda, declarations of interest. The standing declarations are noted. Members and officers are reminded to make any other declarations if they become apparent at the appropriate time during the meeting. Are there any further declarations? So no, thank you. Item number 4 on the agenda, minutes. The minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of December 2020 have been circulated and can be found on pages 4 to 8. Can I ask if everyone is happy that they are approved? Arrangements will be made for me to formally sign these when circumstances allow, and this will be recorded in the minutes. Is everyone happy with the minutes?
Agreed. Agreed. Agreed.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 5 on the agenda, Chair's report on urgent items. And we have no urgent items, Peter. Thank you. Item number 6 on the agenda is a public forum. In accordance with remote meetings protocol, which has been introduced by the Town Council, any members of the public wishing to address the Council or committees during their remote meetings should have emailed their submission to us one clear day before the meeting. And we have none, Peter, is that correct? Thank you. Moving on to the next item 7, which is officers' reports, and we start with 7.1 council priorities, and I should hand over to the Town Clerk.
Thank you, Chair. This is a series of reports which are going through all committees and will end up at Council on Thursday as recommendations from committees. I'm saying before every one of these meetings that it's important to differentiate between a priority and a policy, and in a couple of instances in some of the previous committees we've identified policies rather than priorities. That particularly relates to those matters that actually are well outside the gift of the council to deliver. So setting yourself a priority that you can't deliver is not in your power, is not wise. However, you can have a policy to try and advance that, as an example. What I propose to do, Chair, if it's okay with you, is to go through each of the priorities one by one. There aren't that many on this committee, so that shouldn't be too lengthy. And that's starting on page 10 of the papers, Chair.
Thank you.
The first one is the Keystone Youth Centre, and I'm rather hoping, given the amount of work that's gone in and the recommendations to Council on Thursday, that still remains a priority.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
Thank you.
The second one, Chair, is the Northcliffe Community Centre, which again is a major capital project for the Town Council, largely funded externally from the Northcliffe development. Again, I would suggest to you that it's inevitable, it's one of our priorities to progress that.
Agreed. Yes.
Thank you.
The third one, Chair, is tree planting and Wildflower Meadow. Now that's largely sits with the Community Resources Committee, who last week agreed to incorporate sorry, they approved the trees, but the bit relevant to this committee is relates to the Wildflower Meadow. They've agreed to start some trial schemes in line with the Mayor's proposal, which is attached to the papers, and to progress that as part of the floral contract going forward, or if they can't deliver that, as a separate contract. However, the only reason that's brought to this committee is that the Manor House and its grounds fall up within the remit of this committee. So as one of the proposed sites is within that, I think it's important to come to you and get your approval to proceed in a similar way to the Community Resources Committee. Hand over to members, Chair.
Any questions, or is everyone just agreed?
Happy to agree, Chair.
Thank you.
Happy to agree as well.
Same.
Thank you.
That's good. The next one is the sale of the Project 82 building. We've been through that at council. We only just agreed that was the way forward, so I'm taking it as read, unless members are going to tell me otherwise, that last few steps of that it remains a priority.
Agreed.
I think it's implicit, unless we've had a dramatic U-turn, Chair, from the last council meeting.
I don't think we have.
Okay, so I'll take that as read. And then the next one, Chair, is reception reconfiguration, which is the subject of a report to this committee later on the agenda. And obviously with that report sitting there, this remains a priority. I would suggest to you, members.
Yes, definitely.
Agreed.
And then lastly, Chair, we thought we'd give you a bonus one. One of the things that members frequently say, and quite rightly, and is one of our policies anyway, is the importance of maintaining the buildings and our land, etc., such as and other things such as the War Memorial. We thought we ought to write that in as a priority rather than it sitting hidden away, and so we've suggested this is a new priority, Chair.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Good idea.
Agreed.
So, Chair, unless there are any others, that is that report, and we will take those forward to Council on Thursday night.
Excellent. Should now move on to 7.2 on the agenda, absence monitoring report, quarter 3, 2020 to 2021, pages 14 and 15. Hand over to Town Clerk to summarise.
Not really much to summarise, Chair. I'm just happy to answer any questions on it. It is a factual for information report.
Yeah. Do we have any questions, anyone? I think it's just...
None from me.
No, it doesn't look like we have any questions, Peter.
Okay.
So moving on to 7.3, anti-bribery, fraud and corruption policy, pages 16 to 26.
Thank you, Chair. This one has been to Policy and Finance, and who've looked through it, and it again is a recommendation to Council on Thursday night. By combining these policies, what it does pick up is that there is a potential, obviously, for councillors to be bribed, or you're probably thinking, when did that happen? But there is the potential there, Chair, and also the case is that it could be for officers. So because of the officer inclusion within these policies, it was important for property and personnel to have a look at these reports and content themselves that they're okay. So happy to answer any questions, Chair.
I'm sure Laura's done a very good job on that. So has anyone got any questions?
If you think of one later, Chair, you've still got the chance to raise it at Council on Thursday. So
Yeah. But I'm sure we all have every faith in Laura. So I should now move on to 7.4, the staffing update, pages 27 and 28.
Thank you, Chair. This report is is largely for information, in so much as there have been staffing changes over the last few months, including not least the return of Zoe as my PA and heading up the admin team, etc. And I think I'd just like to say to members how pleased and I've been that Jenny is, I think many members have bumped into, the tremendous work she's put in during that year. So I'd like to just make sure that members are aware that she has been sensationally good and really thrown herself into the life of the council through a very difficult time.
Definitely.
The other bit I just wanted to pick up is a continuation. The recommendation had a time limit on it. I think we didn't know how long COVID would last. And so the other recommendation relates to caretakers. It's a question of not making someone redundant when it's going to cost us more probably to do so, and we can use that very limited hours elsewhere. We previously agreed that, but it needs to come back now. It will come. It will totally resolve itself when the Keystone's up and built, but at the same time, it's so few hours that it doesn't help us to make the redundancy, and it's not economic to do so. So, if other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions, Chair.
I'm more than happy with that. So, if anyone has any questions. No, it looks like everyone's very happy with that, Peter. So we move on to 7.5.
Just to confirm, could we do the recommendation, Chair? Just approval. That was it. General assent would be good.
Sorry. Yes. Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah. Agreed.
Thank you very much indeed. Now we move on to 7.5, the reception reconfiguration, pages 29 to 33.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sure members have read this and looked at the pictures, and which does give a good feel as to what's happened since the since we all were last in there. It has been redecorated in terms of painted and spruced up. That opportunity has been taken. One of the pictures does tend to show an identical scenario to what we're recommending, something that looks the same as what we've got. But I think it's important. I don't know if members would have picked up the fact it doesn't include the higher level on that desk. What we've got at the moment is, it probably seemed a good idea at the time, and I was there when it was put in, but it's many years ago now. But it is a barrier, and the world has moved on, and we're wanting an open, friendly face of the council. What you end up with is people leaning on the top of that thing, peering over the top in a sort of very odd way. So that's not good. The reception is tired anyway. We're looking to bring a screen in from the old Look and See, which we've got, which will be quite modern and look good, and actually linking quite neatly with some of the proposals that came up at Policy and Finance with regard to some of the photography competition. So, and also any other things that are going on in the town. So that will work well. The recommendations and different options are set out in the paper, and I'm really happy to answer any questions on that, Chair.
Thank you, Peter. Do we have any questions, everyone? I myself am very happy with it.
Sorry, could I just?
Please do, Vicky.
This is the blinds are 500 up to £500.
Mm-hmm.
How many blinds are there?
There are two windows there. It's a very good. It's a very. I'm not sure. They are expensive, these blinds, but I will double. What I will say, councillors, is as you've raised it, I'll go back and double check those prices and we'll get another quote as well.
It sounds absolutely extortionate to me. I've bought blinds recently, and that just looks absolutely mad.
I have to admit, so have I, and that was more in the ballpark of where I bought. So maybe I've been ripped off as well personally. But I will double check that though, councillors.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tandy?
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to go with the recommendation. I just wanted to pick up, it says that company A obviously does not supply corporate branding, so we'll need to get a separate quote. Is that quote kind of going to be coming soon, or is that something that's going to come further down the line?
I think we'll just get it done through you, Chair. I mean, it's going to be a fairly low cost in terms of putting it on there, but I think once we decided where we were going to go, we'll just go out and get one to a fix.
Perfect. Thank you.
Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with Councillor Rhodes about the cost of the blinds. We've had new vertical blinds installed on our French doors and another window within the dining room, and they cost about £400 for the whole lot. So it does seem very high for what that is doing. And that came from Littlehampton Blinds. So whether they're an option for a quote, I don't know, but I certainly felt that £500 was rather a lot for two what looked like roller blinds. Thank you.
I'll double check them through you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're all happy with that, as long as, and Peter's going to double check the blind situation.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
Thank you. Item 7.6 is 18 new plant and equipment, pages 34 to 38.
Sorry. Thank you, Chair. I was ahead of the red light then. The report largely here comes from the need to replace the tipper truck that was the subject of an insurance claim as set out in the papers. Linked to that, however, having come into committee with that, is the need for a trailer, and I think the paper, I can add to it if members wish, but the need for a ride-on tractor has been identified, and I think we could pick that up at the same time. I wouldn't have brought the pressure washer to you, but as it needed purchasing as well, it seemed inappropriate just to fill that in on this report, Chair. The 18 equipment, I think the important thing is that we put a significant sum away each year for vehicles, particularly, knowing that these things will crop up in the future. So we save up for them, and then we can do it that way. The only difference has been in recent past is where we acquired an electric vehicle, which wasn't an upfront cost. It was a lease, which members approved at the time. We did look at the possibilities of an electric vehicle for the tipper truck, but I'm afraid they're not quite up to speed for the type of thing that we need. I think this might be our last non-electric vehicle, though. Happy to answer any questions, though, Chair.
Yeah, do you have any questions from committee? I'm verging on taking that as a no. Are we all in agreement with these recommendations?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's all agreed,
Right.
Peter.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 8 on the agenda, finance.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Again, this is not particularly exciting as a report. This is a regular one that we bring forward to you, but there is the proposal within it, a recommendation within it, which is to introduce an alarm system up at Lineside and the A-team unit. We have had a couple of tests from that unit, but they wouldn't have been picked up by this alarm unit. So I'm not trying to link the two because they were in the outside area. In fact, one of them was outside the unit completely. However, there is a lot of important equipment within that building, and it does seem sensible to have it alarmed, particularly as obviously over the weekends and so on. It can. Sometimes it's being used for events, but not always. I'm going to have to be a bit careful how far I go here. I was thinking as I was saying this because I'm publishing to the outside world. Sorry, I should have said happy to answer any questions. Sorry, Chair.
That's fine. Any questions, anyone? So everyone's in agreement?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Great.
Perfect. Moving on to 9 on the agenda, exempt for business, and there is none, Peter.
There is none, Chair.
So I'll now close this meeting at 18:50, and thank you all for attending, and thank the public for watching.